Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and a happy 2024 for you. I hope everything you aim for you achieved this year. In this video we're just going to mainly talk about what we set out to do last year, which was to learn how to do the handstand and how it's gone and what we've learned from doing it.
It's been a fantastic 12 months, it's been a big journey. Definitely exactly what Stephen's saying there. We're going to talk about our individual personal journey towards what we learned from that year, our progressions, what we've kind of learned, advancements, things still to improve on, and go into a bit more of the sort of technical aspect side of doing things like the handstand, for example.
Yeah, the handstand is a weird sort of thing to do. It's amazing once you get it, but getting from not knowing it to getting it takes time. There's so many things you've got to change in your body in terms of strength and flexibility. They kind of go both together. If you don't have one, the other one won't come. And you'll find that out when you start to advance. The more flexible you are, certain positions in terms of your shoulders, your wrists, your kick up through the hamstrings and glutes improve, but you have to learn them first. So in this video we're going to talk about, we're going to do some demonstrations, but mainly just talk about what we've learned.
I think one of the best things, most of all, that I took away as a big takeaway from all of this, and especially learning from you as well, was basically subtlety. Find that really nice balance in between kind of the strength but also the flexibility side, as Stephen mentioned there. And that's probably the biggest thing I've probably come across and sort of had to really take on board from doing this series for myself. But also just going into sort of, like he was saying there, that balance between all those different aspects of like learning what the handstand is, applying it, and not overthinking it as well, which I tend to do quite a bit sometimes, but I'm sort of getting more into that vogue now, just sort of saying, look, you know what you're doing, get down to it, don't spend too much time with it, and just, you know, perform.
Yeah, what you'll find when you start doing a handstand, there's a couple of things that's going to happen, and this is from a personal point, is the first couple of weeks you're not going to like it very much, in the sense that you're going to get head rushes and feel dizzy when you first do it. That will pass, it always does. Your body adapts, so that's going to pass. Other thing you need to take into consideration is, I would say even before you start learning how to do a handstand proper, learn how to fall. So important. If you learn how to fall, you find that you're going to progress quicker because you don't have that restriction in your brain telling you, I might hurt myself, or you might hurt yourself. So learn how to fall. And the best way to do this is learn how to do your kick-ups against the wall. Kick-up again against the wall is one of those things that is good for confidence. It's also good to get your form using the wall. What you do not want to do is become over-reliant on the wall, because becoming over-reliant on the wall will hold you back, because it's like the kid with the comfy blanket that doesn't want to go anywhere without that blanket, and it's the same thing with the handstand. You will have to wing yourself off the wall at some point. And everyone's going to have what they call a sort of eureka moment, where everything just clicks. But there's a lot of work in between that click and getting up to that point. In this video we're going to show you a few things. Again, we're not going to spend too much time demonstrating, we're just more going to talk about them and why you kind of need to do them.
Main thing is exactly what Steve was saying there, getting over that fear, not overcomplicating things, that flexibility, subtlety, hand strength, shoulder strength, glutes, hips. It all comes into play. It all has to be homogeneous. It will come together. Take your time, spend time definitely, especially in the beginning stages, on that wall. 10 seconds, 15 seconds. You'll build up to a minute. And in the beginning it is uncomfortable. That's okay. You'll have to go to those uncomfortable places to reach your goal. As always with anything we do in the gym or in life, it's sort of taking yourself to a bit of that discomfort to achieve and overcome it, and you're going to feel amazing. And that eureka moment is exactly what you mentioned there. It's incredible. You just feel so good. Elation is so good. And the inertia as well from being in that handstand position, once you start to build up your time frame, it feels good. It feels fantastic. And you're going to be amazed how much everything will come together. And the increase in flexibility and strength and subtlety, phenomenal. Great aspects of the handstand. I can't promote that part enough. It's fantastic.
Yeah, there are loads of health benefits that blood going to your brains, flood your brain cells with oxygen, it's just amazing. You'll feel amazing after doing it. But enough talk, let's do some minor demonstrations just to show you what you should be doing and what you really shouldn't be doing. And part of this demonstration is going to include how to kick. The kick is one of the hardest things to learn. It seems simple, it looks simple, but it's not. What you find a lot of time, people will either overkick or underkick. That's something that needs to be fixed. We're going to talk about stacks, we're going to talk about compression of the body, and after we've done that, we're going to talk about elongation through the shoulders to get the really good handstand. All right, let's do some demonstrations. Let's go for it.
I'm sorry for making you feel like you're not good enough. I'm sorry for making you.
So for this first one, we're going to perform a upper body shoulder workout traditionally when we first come into the gym or workout area you're using. We're going to be using this beam here. Keep in mind you can use pretty much anything that's very sturdy to the floor, ground, wherever you may be, okay? So, trapezius, upper shoulder, triceps, wrists, fingertips. We're going to go up to our beam, hold on like so. Make sure you've got a nice firm clasp. Come back slowly. Make sure you've got enough angle so you start to feel a slight extension, but don't fully lock out at this point. And very importantly, slowly, you're going to just climb into the beam. And you're going to push back out. I'm going to bring my hands down slightly just to adjust, because I want this a little bit closer towards my forehead as I come in. So watch again. And you're going to get that little push. What's lovely about this is it's all connected. So everything that we're going to come on to as we're talking about this is about stacking. So already, engagement between bicep, into shoulder, down through into the wrist area, fingertips is all really important. You're starting to simulate and perform what you'll be doing on the ground. It's so essential. It's all about a chain. Very similar to when you would do any sort of compound exercise, be it deadlifts, squatting. Very similar with your handstand series. Think about a chain movement every time and you'll be okay.
Right, this part of the handstand, I'm going to show you how to sort of warm your fingers up and your wrists. There's three ways you can sort of do this. One is sort of this action, which is really good. Go one way and then reverse it and go the other way. The other one is your hands, this to your hands. Now, this is good, but there's an even better way of doing it. And I'll demonstrate this on the floor. So have your hands sort of pointing backwards. And what you do is you just lean back into it and lean forward. Lean back and lean forward. What you will increase here is the flexion of your wrist. And this is so important. When you do a handstand, if your wrists aren't sort of warmed up enough or the flexibility in your wrist isn't great, what you find is every time you go up, you're going to want to go down because your wrists are just not don't want to bend enough. And you're going to need flexibility in the wrist. So when you kick up, sometimes what will happen is that you will slightly over pitch. If your wrists are flexible enough, you can catch it and hold on to the handstand. If they're not, you find that once you get to certain points, you're going to fall out the handstand. So wrist mobility is very important. Next thing I'm going to show is fingers. Now, the handstand relies on the fingers. The fingers are replicating your toes. The thumb is representing your big toe. So what you're trying to do when you go down, just as a warm-up, is what I do is I sort of go back a bit and I lift up. I make sure I've got some weight on it. And this warms your fingers up. As I said earlier, if your fingers are fully warmed up as well as your wrists, you find out when you slightly over pitch with your handstand, you can catch it. The other thing I want to talk about is fingers. You need to have them as spread as you can, sort of in this sort of action. Don't go in with flat fingers. If your fingers are flat, you're going to find it very hard to adjust. Also, if your fingers aren't spread out enough, you're going to have this, which again is not going to support a handstand. Make them like this, nice and wide, and when you fall into the handstand, you'll find out that the fingers will do what you need them to do, which is basically stop you from falling over. Right, enjoy that part.
This is going to be a demonstration of how to go into our stack position. So by this point, you've done your initial warm-ups, upper body, fingertips, everything, flexion. Let's go down into that movement now. So, exactly as Stephen mentioned before in the previous part, clasping, hands nice and spread. You're gripping into that floor, so you feel like you've started to dig in. You're going to come back just a little bit, start to feel the top part of your shoulder here. You should start to get like an indent. Slight line there. That's so important, okay? So by that point, you're looking down. Make sure you've got a point of reference. So think of like a ballerina. I know it sounds odd, but think of in life when you think of like a pirouette. They're always focusing on one point, not to get any disorientation in the cerebellum, basically. So I feel that dizziness. So I'm going to look just beneath my sort of wrist line here as my point of reference for the head. So I'm keeping it fixed position. Now, very importantly, you've got two options here. Beginner stage, what you can do is you can sort of come back and very gently sort of walk tiptoe into your stack, but make sure you're keeping behind the wrist with the head, okay? But most importantly, this is a compression state. So you've got like a 10 action. Don't go too far forward. This would give you no room or margin for error. You want to be further back. So it's so important that you're engaging your hamstring, you're engaging the wrist, engaging fingers to the floor, pushing only slightly at this point. Don't push too hard because you're going to lose that grippiness, okay? But what you can do is, like I said, you walk tiptoed, so you keep in that position now. Now, alternatively, what you could have done, same thing again, you've got that flexion line down for the shoulder, and then you can sort of jump into it once. That's also okay, that's fine. But again, go with how confident you are and what sort of level or stage you are with the actual handstand itself. So from that point, you can either raise the foot ever so slightly behind you. This is going to be referred to as the pushing or kicking leg, okay? So again, there you've got your chain, full stack, wrist, shoulder, forearm, hamstrings engaged. Most importantly, keep that head focused on that point you've got. What you may want to do, in fact, possibly have like a marker or line, piece of chalk, whatever helps you, use that as your focal point, like a dot or something. That'd be quite good. So we want to be sort of just behind the wrist area, sort of here, beneath the hands. Okay? Now, also why that is important is we need balance. So the weight distribution between your rear, head, hands, it all needs to sort of balance up. Again, that middle ground between subtlety of strength versus flexibility.
When learning handstand, there are three main methods that people tend to use. They tend to either use what they call a press handstand. They will use what they call a standard kick up, which is just hands down, kick straight through with one leg, or they use a tuck handstand. They're all different, and what I found in my journey is that the tuck handstand is easy for me to pull off. I can also do a straight leg. The press handstand, I haven't learned that yet. I'll do it at some point. Forgot to mention there's also what they call a straddle. A straddle is quite good because your center of balance is wide. If you're doing a single arm push-up, remember, not push-up, handstand, it's important that you know and you're consistent with your hand positions. Now, for me personally, I like to have my hands within, slightly outside of my shoulder line. Some people like it a bit narrower, some people go really wide. Now, practice on whichever one you're going to do, practice the different versions of the wide, the middle, and the tight. Find out which one suits you. For me personally, slightly outside of my shoulders, that works for me. And I'm consistent with that. When you're doing it, unless you're have a gymnastic past, most people, when they want to learn a handstand against the wall, will go down to the floor. And when they go down to the floor, they then plant their hands and then try and do a kick up. Gymnasts, on the other hand, will go straight from the top and do handstands. Now, that's a different level of training, not in this tutorial. For us, personally, I just want to show you the basics. The hook, the sort of tuck handstand revolves around you going into the floor, have a bit of a stack. When you have the stack, you're trying to kick up, but not extending the legs. You want the legs to sort of tuck over you first before you kick out of them. That is a technique that I find works quite. It gave me my breakthrough, basically. I tried for months doing a single leg, straight leg kick, and I had major issues with that. I couldn't find my center of balance, and I was so inconsistent. So for me, the sort of tuck works very well. Also, it's a height thing. Now, I'm about 6 foot tall, and the taller you are, the handstand becomes harder. If you're short or shorter, it's easier to pull off because your center of gravity is very low to the floor, so you're not fighting much. Whereas the taller you are, long arms, long legs, it throws so many variables into the whole handstand thing. So you need to think about your height and which sort of handstand will work for you quickest. Now for me, as I said, the tuck worked perfectly well. And I tried to build a straddle one, and the straddle one is not that bad actually. But again, it's a slightly different technique that you have to adopt. I think your hands have to be slightly wider when you do a straddle, as opposed to narrow hands. So again, just learn the different hand positions and see which one suits you. So if I was going to do a handstand, I'm not warmed up currently, so I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration of what it looks like. So I'll go to the floor like this. I plant my hands. Now, I may have to take my top off so you can actually see what the full demonstration looks like. So if I take my top off, main reason I'm taking my top off is so that you can actually see what my arms are doing, because I think with that top on you can't see that. So when I put my hands down, what you do not want to do is just go up like this. What will happen is that your arms will do this. Now, a bit of flexion in the elbows isn't bad. What you don't want is that, because you create a point of no return, which means your chest drops. So you essentially want to go like this and lock them in. Push the wrists in. The wrists and the elbows, push them in. So they're like this. When they're like this, it means that when you do a press up, your arms stay locked and they don't do this. Yeah? So if I was here and I kicked up, my arms stay straight. My arms stay straight. And that's what you're aiming for. Always lock the shoulders. You lock the shoulders, lock the wrists by rotating them in. They sit in a nice straight position. If you go with just your normal hand and try and kick up, gravity alone and your weight will make your arms buckle. You don't want your arms buckling, because once they buckle, your chest has to bear a lot of the weight, and half the time you're going to find out you're not even going to get up. And if you do go up, you're going to be like in a real banana shape, which is no good. Try this and hopefully this helps.
This is a demonstration of how to fall out of a handstand position. Again, this is all part of building our confidence series and progression for this movement. Okay, we're coming down. You're going to plant. And like so, you had your single arm there. So that way, you're able to come out of it comfortably. We'll show you in the next one how to do a similar but a different way of falling out.
Okay, Jason performed slightly earlier. He showed you how he falls out of a handstand, and this is how I fall out of a handstand. The reason why you need to learn how to fall out of a handstand is purely for confidence. If you have no idea how to fall, chances are, in terms of confidence, you're not going to be that confident of doing it. Secondly, if you don't know how to fall, chances of you hurting yourself pretty high. So one of the first things, if I'm teaching anyone how to do a handstand, apart from the specific exercises that you need to get stronger, is to fall out of a handstand. So if I need to fall out of a handstand, I have a certain way of doing it. And there's a rationale behind this. When you kick sometimes, if your kick isn't consistent, and sometimes you kick too heavy, you're going to try, your body naturally is going to fall that way. And you have to know how to deal with that. And falling out of the handstand is how you do it. Let's go. So I'm going to demonstrate two ways. I'm going to try and do a normal kick. I'm also going to try and do a slightly heavier kick where I'm going to fall. So this is the first way I would go. Just a nice normal kick. Now the heavier kick. That's how you fall out of it. Essentially just rotate with it. Don't try and go flat because you'll end up either smashing into the floor, but just by rotating your body and your hands, you roll out of it.
So I'm going to be performing a wall handstand now. This will be using the usual technique that we've been using throughout basically the last several weeks or months rather. So we can approach our wall. We're going to come down using all the techniques we've learned from showing you that prior part as well. So hands coming down. Get into that stack. You've got your pivot, you've got your focal point, small push. And you come up, full extension. You can just hold that position and making sure everything is basically firm, supple. You'll be fine. You get a little bit of head rush, that's okay. You'll be okay, just hold it a few seconds. Shallow breathing. Coming down very slowly. Move one leg, then the other. Bend the knees. And back up. So important, whatever you do not elongate or keep those knees straight as you're coming down. Have that slight bend. Gently balance into the floor and you'll be fine.
Okay, I'm also going to be demonstrating how to do the wall to do a handstand. The only difference here is that I'm going to talk about why you don't come down with a straight leg. There's a reason. Come down with a straight leg, chance of you jarring the ligaments in your knee are very high, especially the ACL. You don't want to hyperextend your knee, and you're only going to get that if your legs are straight. So when you come down, you need to make sure that when you're coming off the wall, you come down slowly. So it's about control. You go up with control, come down with control, not with a straight leg. Let's show you this. Now you'll stay here for a bit, just to feel the weight on the shoulders and the legs and everything. Once you've stayed there for about 20 seconds, you come down. When you come down, bring your legs together and bend them. That's the safest way to come down without jarring your knee. You don't want to hurt your knee when you come down. And by just tucking them a bit, you find out that you can come down safely. And there we have it. So,
watching the video to the end.
as long as you follow some of the tips that we've given you in this video, you'll find that you're going to get some good progression and less likely to hurt yourself. I would say practice minimum 4 times a week, anything between 20 minutes to half an hour. Again, it's winter now, so if you're training in a place that isn't very warm, really try your hardest to get yourself warmed up before you even attempt this. We've done a few kick-up handstands today, and I'm cold. I've not been able to perform as well as I normally do, but I'll reshoot some of it later on in the year when it's a bit warmer, or if I've done a proper warm-up, then I can really go and demonstrate what I've learned.
Always have fun out there. Fall back on what you remember. Use this as a reference point. There's lots of other information out there. Always just falling back into kind of remembering your stack, your chain, subtlety. Keep those things in the back of your mind and you'll be okay.
Again, as always, please give a like, subscribe and comment. It helps the channel and we hope you enjoy it. See you in the next one.
Wake up at mine. Balconies and bathtubs. Watch your